What up, guys? Today I'm going to be going throughout the entire DC's Death Metal event. I'm going to finish this story. This is going to be the end of the Metals event story arc that we've been going through. Um, Also, I do want to mention the fact that I did make a mistake when I did the Batman Who Laughs story arc, which I did that originally first, and I called it the Perpetual event. When I did that one, I thought I finished it and I thought I gave you guys all the information, the conclusion of the story. But apparently I was wrong. When I went back to do my research for the death metal event, I found out that there was some parts I was missing, and there were some comic books I had to go through and read. It was only a few, not too many, but I did have to go back and read it to give you guys better context clues and understanding of what happened prior to the whole, death metal story, starting of that story, right? Um, so I will be talking a little bit about that briefly, and then I'll be, giving some information on that. And once we're done with that, I'll get back into the death metal story as a whole and just go through what happened in that story event completely. But what happened in that story prior to that, the parts that I missed, I thought it was just ended with the door being opened where the Justice League went through. That wasn't the end of it. What happened afterwards was the Justice League were, talking to the Batman Who Laughs, and the Batman Who Laughs was planning and plotting at this time, and he was somehow able to infect or bring these infected versions of these Justice League members from other universes that he went into and messed with, and he brought them there to fight against the Justice League to break him out. And there was a whole stuff happening with that. I'm not going to get into that too much because it's not that important. But he ended up breaking out eventually, and as he broke out, he ended up fighting against Apex Lex, and they were both fighting over control. And he was able to get away from Apex Lex for a bit, and he was doing his own planning and plotting, and we see a little bit of what he's doing. First, he ends up capturing the last of the monitors, which was Nex Yotan, and we haven't seen him for a while, and he we see him captured and put in this like I don't know what to call it, like cylinder thing, right? So he's trapped in there and he's talking about how he caught him and he's one of the super judges of Last of the Monitor. And then he's talking about what his power and his knowledge, this will help him out a lot more. So he was able to capture the monitor somehow. So he was able to capture him, and as he did, he ended up trapping him into this thing. We do find out later on what is this thing and what is he putting him in. But after this, as he's fighting against Apex Lex looks for a cure to the Joker venom that was put inside the Batman Who Laughs to turn him back to normal. He actually puts it in him and basically technically beats him and takes him. But this was actually a part of the Batman Who Laughs' plan because he wanted to be in front of Perpetua herself and get a console in front of her so he can talk to her. As he pulls him to her, he starts talking about it and he says, I've had one of the greatest powers trapped in a jar for the last week. It took some doing, but I've got the Phantom Stranger to talk and more to confirm my findings. And then he's talking about how Lex, he's saying he's a noble servant of, Perpetual, but he's just, doing this for his own self, just so he can have his own world to come out. He also does mention that it is fiction. He said it was only fiction, the world that Lex saw, which we saw in the whole story event. The reason why Lex is helping out Perpetua was because he saw her power and the totality being able to advance the world into the future. And the advancement showed that Lex was this hero and he was immortalized and he was really, supported and loved. And this is what he wanted. But we find out that apparently this was made up by Perpetua to basically trick Lex to helping her out. But he stated that he caught the most powerful beings like the Phantom Stranger. So he caught already the last super judge of the monitors, and he caught the Phantom Stranger, which are two very highly powerful beings in the DC cosmology. So he's captured some powerful beings and he's using their energy for whatever. And we're gonna get into what he's using that throughout the Death Metal story event because that's very big and important and integral. So Lex does not like hearing this, and he's like, "Why are you, entertaining what he has to say?" So he tries to attack Perpetua. Perpetua stops him, takes away his powers, so he's no longer Apex Lex. He's just regular, and she sends him back to Earth, crashing down to Earth. And then she's listened to what Batman Who Laughs has to say. He says, "You're powerful. You're very well knowing, but I know more than you, and I can think outside of the box compared to you because I come from the dark multiverse. You come from this whole positive, multiverse that you've created. So I know more than you." And have additional information that can help you out in this battle. Also, you cannot really affect me because I'm from the dark multiverse. That's not your domain. Your domain is this positive matter universe. And then she's like complies. She's like, okay, talk to me. So she basically tells him, tell me, creature, tell me these things that I cannot see. Tell me how to stop these heroes from the current course of actions. Oh, I think you'll find this is a good one. So she went from working with Lex to discarding him because he was kind of pissed at her for listening to the Batman Who Laughs, and also finding out that those worlds that he had where he was like this supreme leader, or this great figure, was not true. So she got rid of him, and now Batman Who Laughs actually works for her. And he's telling her that there's things that he knows that she doesn't know. And she's like, okay, then tell me, what do you know that I don't know? Which kind of shows that even though she's pretty powerful and like ancient and she created the multiverse, she isn't all knowing, which, you know, a lot of people might try to argue that she's omniscient, but she's not really, since she already admitted right there. But that was the end of that. All we got from that was the Batman Who Laughed got escaped. He fought against Apex Lex. Apex Lex thought he beat him. He ended up actually losing, and he just wanted to be in front of Perpetua to, discuss a team up with her, which he ended up doing, and then discarded Lex, so he's no longer Apex Lex, and now he's against Perpetua. So that's all I have to say with that. And the rest of the heroes are still escaped. Um, as this is happening, Wonder Woman is off on this other world. She's dressed a little bit differently because I guess going through the door, it changed her a little bit, and she's trying to find a way to beat, the Batman Who Laughs, since now he's out and he's working with Perpetua, and she actually gets a hold of Wally West. He comes back, and now she's connected with him, and this was important because throughout the whole, I forgot what it was called, The Last Front or something like that for the Flash. That story event, he became connected to the Mobius chair and got the knowledge and became this like blue version of his Flash self. And then we have the whole stuff with Doctor Manhattan. And then he comes to her, and then he starts explaining what was happening and the whole situation. So we go all the way back to what happened from the beginning till now to get a little bit more context of the story. He goes on to say, all right, the understanding of path forward, we must understand the past to travel to the multiverse and flashes before me. What I've learned is all the power in our reality gathers around two poles. Every positive energy in our universe, the speed force, the emotional spectrum, the forces of justice, they're all essence of connective. They link us to each other and to other paths, reminding us of the part of the one epic generational story. At the other pole, the opposite power rages. I've come to call it crisis energy, anti-life, chaos magic, the forces of doom, all that power that disrupts, that takes instead of giving the power that based in selfish and greed and predatory. Uh, Flirtatious. Crisis energy looks to shatter connection and make only one moment important. There is only now that is only us two moments. I am far too weak. She is too strong. Throughout this void, being like Perpetua tasked with starting a multiverse, they are doing this. The connective energy born of the presence of the source. These beings birth a reality and then die and give themselves to that baby multiverse. But the mother of our multiverse, Perpetua, started our reality with crisis energy. Her goal was to create a multiverse with no memory, what that would live forever in the self-renewing loop that is its own importance in multiverse that would prey on others, absorb them, and forget them. Vampiric and entirely devoted to her. When her kind found out about her, she had done, they begun our reality and over-trapped her into the source wall in the hopes that eventually, by watching overgrowth, she might learn to love us. But instead, she raged inside the wall, whispered to whoever might see her and stroke her, whatever might listen to the stroke, desire, greed, instigate crisis. And our battles of the last second Barbados, we broke the source wall. Freeing her, and since then it began with Lex. So he's just explaining all the stuff and her planning and what she was doing. And I know this is a lot of reading, sorry. It's a lot of information, but it is important because it does explain a lot to us. But then he goes on to say, not as long as a being from another reality brimming with connective energy, Dr. Manhattan tried to amend the fractions in our multiverse to heal the scars from former crisis, but his attempts do not have the intended effect. So the quintessence gathered the energy and gave it to you, the League of to fight Perpetua. You harnessed all the connective energy. She harnessed all the crisis energy, and you related with the battle happened in the clash. I don't know, only that it exhausted both the forces, blasted and powerful. It burned out the sun. So there's a lot of stuff. He's explaining that this entire multiverse, everything that is created and everything that is within the multiverse is connected to two forces. There's one which is like this positive one, which is called connect is like a connective one, and then there is this second one, which is basically the opposite, and it is basically the disconnection of it's the opposite of being connected together. It's supposed to be selfish, predatory. It's only supposed to be about one, moment in time. And as he explains it, the original one is the even one that is being used by Perpetua is called crisis energy. And we mentioned this before, but crisis energy is pretty much all the negative forces within the multiverse that try to, fight against connection between people and hope and goodness. And she's able to use this crisis energy to restart the multiverse, destroy it, recreate it, and restart it every time. And she's going to keep on doing this to make their multiverse stronger and stronger and stronger so it can absorb other multiverses. Because we do know and we have found out that there are other multiverses within the DC cosmology. They're just not connected to DC's multiverse directly. They're their own separate things, right? But they could pose a threat on their multiverse. So she wants to make her multiverse the apex multiverse and dominate these other ones. So by doing this, she needs to create them, make them go through some big crisis, end up having the multiverse being destroyed and then be remade. But when she remakes them, she cannot have them remember their past because for the crisis energy to work, it needs to move on forward and forget about the past because the past connects them all together. If there's any sort of connection that brings in the other energy, which they later on called it anti-crisis energy. So it brings the anti-crisis energy, which will fight off the crisis energy, which will go against her because she needs that crisis energy to restart it and destroy everything. So it's best to keep them not remembering. That's why every time there's a big event, a multiversal event happening, they were not able to remember what happened prior to this whole big, situation. But he goes on to explain that, that she was tasked with the, starting the multiverse and then the presence and the source. Um, and then he was mentioning all the other times with, the anti-monitor destroying it. And then when it got destroyed and they recreated it as a new, it also erased their memories. And as it did this multiple times, Dr. Manhattan himself came into the multiverse, the DC multiverse, and he realized that there was something off, that every time that the timeline would keep on moving forward and it would keep on restarting and going over and over in a loop. And he started to mess with it too to understand what is happening. He found the connection with Superman. And then the end, he realized that, hey, maybe the best thing to do is not to mess with it, but to make it, heal it and fix the problems. And he rewinded everything back again to fix everything. It did not work. They didn't mention Dr. Manhattan tried it with his, he was brimming with the anti-crisis energy himself, and he was trying to use it to fix everything, but he couldn't do it. And the Quintesses noticed this. They're like, okay, he tried. It wasn't enough. We're just going to send you guys here and give Wonder Woman some power. Now, sadly, when I was reading this, I was confused. I was like, wait, when did they give Wonder Woman this power to fight her? Did I miss some other parts? Because I did go back to reread the other stuff. Apparently no. They skip over this. They just explain it in this story. They never show it. All they explain is that apparently at one point the Quintenses realized that they need to find a way to beat Perpetua, and the only way they can beat her is by using the opposite energy, which is anti-crisis energy, since she uses crisis energy. So they use that power and that connective power and directly send it into Wonder Woman, powering her up. As she got powered up, she ended up having a fight against Perpetua. As they battled it out, and they went all out, they both ended up exhausting both their energy reserves. So Perpetua did end up technically winning, but it was somewhat of a stalemate. And Wonder Woman lost all that anti-crisis energy, and Perpetua almost lost all of it. She did have still some, but she lost quite a bit of it, and this is what gives her her power. Without it, she's in her depowered state. But that fight, as it went on, it ended up burning out the sun. So Earth's sun got burned out. It didn't get completely destroyed, but it's like kind of dim now, and it lost all of its energy because of their big battle against each other. So they didn't show that. Just so you guys know, you guys might be asking, wait, at what point did did this happen? What comic did this happen? it didn't happen in any other one. They just mentioned it in this one and they skip over that, which honestly kind of sucks that they did that. But yeah, their fight ended up basically blowing out the sun, and she uses crisis energy, and they're trying to use anti-crisis energy to fight her off. They already tried once, it didn't work. And then every time they restart everything, this helps her create her predator multiverse to fight against and just devour the other multiverses. Later on, we see as she's destroying more universes, there's apparently only six left. She said, "I've conquered another Earth, six remain." So there's only six left. Out of the 52. At this point, they're pretty much nearing the end because she's trying to wipe out the rest of the multiverse to restart it. She needs to wipe them all out, leave Earth Prime alone, and then by using Earth Prime, she can restart the multiverse. It's kind of like what happened with you know, the Anti-Monitor, which she also was the one who put that in motion to have the Anti-Monitor to destroy everything. But then we go on later on as Wonder Woman goes on to explain more. She says, right now, Perpetua is drawing on her energy from Crisis Worlds and the Dark Multiverse. The energy is transmitted up from her in the dark out to the human antennas around the multiverse where the amplified and sent to Perpetua herself. What we need to do is redirect that energy to one of our own, someone who has the power to kill Perpetua and then help us recreate the multiverse as it should be. That someone is Wally West. John Stewart, you lead the Lancers to take her down from her antennas and the remaining Earths. Martian Manhunter, you and your team go after her throne, and the Flashes will keep Wally West safe. Meanwhile, my team and I will seek into the dark multiverse throughout the portal beneath Castle Bat and redirect the crisis energy to Wally. So, what is happening here? So apparently Wonder Woman is explaining their plan on how to beat Perpetua because she wants to create her own multiverse. She wants to fix everything, and Perpetua wants to create her own like evil version of it. And the Batman Who Laughs is working with um he's working with obviously Perpetua, and he has his own plans himself. He stated himself that he wants to create this dark multiverse up there. Whereas before the dark multiverse, the whole point of it was to be destroyed, and the positive matter multiverse was supposed to be the one remaining up there, right? And absorbing that energy. But he wanted to replace that and destroy the positive matter, multiverse, and bring up the dark, multiverse, multiverse, yeah. And Perpetua, she ended up working with him because she can draw the energy or the crisis energy from the dark multiverse. Since the dark multiverse is constantly within crisis and dangerous situations and hopeless situations, they're clearly always constantly within a crisis. So that crisis creates crisis energy, which she can siphon off. And they're able to do this by having these chambers, which he was able to trap these different beings from these other universes and put them in there. And as he puts them in these chambers, the chambers draws the crisis energy from them and gives it into the antennas that the anti-monitor used, and it transmits that energy directly to Perpetua. So she's absorbing the crisis energy from these crisis worlds, from these people that are captured and trapped into it, and giving it to her throne to give it to her, right? And Wonder Woman is like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break these people out. We're gonna attack her. We're gonna attack her chair, and then me and my crew, which is basically her, Batman, and Superman, are gonna go into the dark multiverse and redirect that, crisis energy into the Mobius chair. So when Wally West Flash sits on it, he absorbs all that energy, and as he absorbs all that energy, he will have the crisis energy within him, and he can fight against Perpetua. So he'll be using crisis energy and siphoning out the one that she's using for himself to beat her, and that's how they're gonna end up killing her. Obviously, it's not gonna be that easy. Because the Batman Who Laughs has his own plans on how to beat them and what he does. Apparently, the Batman Who Laughs ends up actually tricking them. They do succeed in their plan into getting into the chair, but they realize that, hey, Wally West hasn't changed. He hasn't gotten any stronger. What's happening? Apparently, what happened was the Batman Who Laughs tricked them. He rigged the chair to redirect that energy away from it to to himself directly. So he actually was able to basically take the energy for himself. So they did succeed somewhat in their plan, but they were sabotaged by the Batman Who Laughs, and that energy that was supposed to go to Wally West ended up all going into him. And this is how he betrays, Perpetua, because he told Perpetua that he's gonna help her out, but they both kind of knew that he was gonna betray her at some point, and she was like, "Well, I can handle you at some point, whatever, or whatever." So this is him putting his plans in motion, to betray her. So now he's absorbing it. She was using it, now he's using it, and he's gonna use his power to beat her. How did he do this? How did he get so strong? Apparently, he explains that he stole before this, we saw that there was these other versions of Alfred basically doing surgery and removing the Batman who laughs his brain and putting it in this body. This body looked like Dr. Manhattan. It was blue, but it looked a little bit weird and a little bit different. And the reason why it kind of looked like Dr. Manhattan, but it was different, was because this was actually another version of Batman in the Dark Multiverse. And this is one that he hid from the other versions of himself and everybody else and Perpetua. The Batman Who Laughs was planning this from the beginning. He goes on to say, "I watched as the experiment began to go awry, and as he went in to set it right, I activated the machine. He took months for that Batman to pull his body back together, molecule by molecule, a power strong enough to create and destroy worlds. Batman hadn't. It took seconds for my energy knife to lobotomize him, and before he grew powerful enough to see me coming, and so I had my path to ascension." So this is how he took him down. And then he took over his body later on with the surgery. And we see, and he says, "Now I feel my awareness expanding as my mind in that holds of this new body that I am ready to take my final form. And so I reached out and feel the dark multiverse as if it were all parts of me. I'm aware that not only my entire life, but the life of every twisted Batman in the dark multiverse, I pulled aspects into myself from the most terrifying, the most vicious, and be something new." Um, and then he goes on to say, he says, "Yes, I will be accumulation of human evil and a cosmic weapon in the infinite power designated to win in every cost I draw in the many lifetimes of experience and knowledge." So what happened was the Batman Who Laughs realized that his body is not strong enough to handle these big cosmic entities. And if he wants to beat Perpetua and, take over the reins and, defeat her, he needs a powerful body. So he was able to pierce into the different dark, universes throughout the dark multiverse, which he was doing that prior, right? And that's how he got his whole legion. But he found this one specific one that Batman feared one of the most that was not revealed, and it was ever since Batman found out about Dr. Manhattan and what happened to him and how he got his powers. Batman was afraid that what if this happened to me? What if I was in that situation where I created this chamber and I ended up going in there and become a god like him and not caring about humanity or anybody, and because of that I become this evil like godly being. So um the Batman Who Laughs found this dark variation of this multiverse and said, "You know what? I'm gonna take this universe and I'm gonna kill him and I'm gonna take his body." So he let him create the experiment. He went in there and he was the one who set off the machine, and his body took months to come back together as it was evolving and it was ascending into what Dr. Manhattan became. But before he was able to do this, the Batman Who Laughs got his special unique knife, stabbed him in his head, lobotomized him, ended up killing him before he was able to get strong enough and realize how his powers work, and then ended up taking the body and giving it to these other alternate versions of Alfred so they can surgically remove his brain and put it in his this body. So this body is basically a Batman's version of Dr. Manhattan. So it would have Dr. Manhattan's powers just with Batman's physical body. And then once when he got put into, this uh Bat Manhattan body that he called it, he was able to have the powers of Dr. Manhattan, which he used his cosmic awareness to search throughout the dark multiverse. So now instead of having to basically fly or go into the dark multiverse to do research and find out about these beings and then get them to help him or whatever, now he doesn't have to even go into those universes and research about it. All he has to do with this new body is use his cosmic awareness and reach out to the dark multiverse since he should be connected to it. The original Dark Manhattan should be connected to the positive matter multiverse, whereas he's connected to the dark matter one. But he's able to reach out and scope into all of these dark matter universes and then gather the information from all these other versions of Batman. So now he has not only the Dr. Manhattan's body and cosmic awareness, but he also has connection to all the other Batman in the dark multiverse and was able to not only learn from all their mistakes, he was able to learn from all their victories, learn about all their histories and past, past, what their capabilities are. So he was able to gather as much as knowledge and experience as he possibly could. So now he has basically every Batman's knowledge and experience throughout the dark multiverse and understanding of it with his body. And this is how he's able to use his body as the conduit for the, crisis energy. So since he has Dr. Manhattan's a physical body, he just needed extra power. And the extra power he needed was directly from the crisis energy that the heroes were going to use, right? So they're going to siphon it from the dark multiverse that was getting channeled to Perpetua to give it to Wally West, but he messed with it and then he took it for himself. So now he has Dr. Manhattan's physical body. He also has the prior knowledge and experience of all these other Batmen, and he has all the crisis energy that was supposed to be funneled into, Perpetua into himself, and this increases his power further. But he also explains later on when he was like still as Dr. Manhattan self, he said, "The speedsters with a touch of Manhattan, Wally West, I will take his power and then I'll rise up to create my own multiverse, a multiverse that laughs every planet like a bullet, fire at gods like Perpetua, a multiverse that would eat all others' realities after reality until there is no being in the omniverse but me, the Dark Knight of all of them." So what it was his plan. He's explaining a little bit more of his plan. He's stating that he knows that they're trying to put all that dark crisis energy into Wally West. The reason why they're putting it into Wally West was um, Dr. Manhattan himself put some of his energy and use some of his infection on Wally West. So Wally West has some connection to Dr. Manhattan and some of his energy, which makes sense due to the fact that the Batman Who Laughs also took another variation of Dr. Manhattan's physical body to use for himself. So I guess you need some of Dr. Manhattan's powers or something with his powers to be able to absorb um that much crisis energy. So that's why they were giving it to Wally West, but he took it, he wants to take it for himself. And he says with this power, he'll be able to rise up and get stronger to the point where he's able to create his own multiverse and he wants to make his dark multiverse. So Perpetua, they all have their own plans. Wonder Woman and the Justice League, they want to create just the positive matter, multiverse, have it keep it safe, fix everything, bring everything back, save everybody from all this destruction that's happened. Perpetua wants to destroy everything and restart it again like how it's done before, but this time make it into a more apex predator type of multiverse so it can consume the other multiverses and be the top dog and then, fight against the hand that trapped her in the first place. And the Batman Who Laughs wants to kind of do the same thing, but just make it his dark multiverse. And he wants to be the supreme ruler of that dark multiverse where he eats up all the other realities. He says he wants to use it, this multiverse, as a bullet to kill the other gods like Perpetua. So he's gonna basically create this hyper powerful, dark multiverse, keeps on getting it stronger. And as it gets stronger, it makes him stronger. And as he gets strong enough, he can kill Perpetua and the rest of her kind. And as he's able to kill them, then he's able to devour the rest of all the other multiverses throughout the omniverse. And when he does that, then he will be the supreme ruler of the entire omniverse itself, not just, the DC multiverse or all these other multiverses. It'll be everything. He will have the power over everything and surpass all the other gods and kill them all and then control everything. That's his big plan and plot in the future as a whole. So that was his entire plot and what he's doing. So we have pretty much three different ways that the story or these people are trying to go. We have the Batman Who Laughs' plan, which he's trying to make this dark multiverse, which is the top, and he wants to be the god of that and devour all the rest of the multiverses. We have Wonder Woman in the Justice League version, which they don't want to conquer anybody. They just want to fix everything and make everything go back to normal while getting rid of all these big threats. And Perpetua wants to create her, apex predator multiverse that devours other ones, so she can use that power to fight off, the rest of these gods, so she can protect her multiverse and herself. But after this, as they go on, they're going to save the rest of the heroes and even villains from. I think it was like their sun. The sun, since it was kind of like dimmed or whatever, it wasn't destroyed, but it blew out the energy from the sun. It was later on turned into a hub and kind of like some planet thingy, whatever, so they can go and trap them on there. So they're going there to save them. And it says, a devastating blow to the moral of everyone still resisting the Earth. The battle between Perpetua and Wonder Woman had burned out the sun, but the Batman Who Laughs had a plan for that. He would harness the power of Superman to fuel the sun, in deadly reminder of the cost of hope under his cruel regime. So yeah, once again, they confirm it again that they destroyed the sun, and this is what it looked like. It was basically severely damaged, though it was still saved and managed due to the Batman Who Laughs trapping another version of Superman in there and basically using his power to power it up. So as this is happening, um they are all going out and doing their plans to stop Perpetua and Batman Who Laughs, and this is the main and integral part of Wonder Woman's plan on how to defeat him. What she does is basically she sends herself, Batman, and Superman into the three biggest crisis events that they had throughout the entire DC cosmology, right, and run. So first, she sends Batman into the crisis of Infinite Earths. As he's there, he sees the Monitor. Then she sends Superman into the final crisis where Darkseid was doing his plan to have the anti-life equation in his true form, and we do see his true form side with the tusks. And then we have Wonder Woman going into Infinite Crisis, which had Superboy Prime. So they have all their own things to deal with. Batman is in Crisis on Infinite Earths. He's dealing with the Monitor, Anti-Monitor. Superman is in Final Crisis. He's dealing with True Form Darkseid, and Wonder Woman is in Infinite Crisis, which she's dealing with Superboy Prime. And they're basically all fighting, and they're in danger. But even though everything goes bad and stuff, they're able to escape. All of them escape, but not only do they escape, Wonder Woman is actually also able to get Superboy Prime to turn on the Batman Who Laughs and join her side. Originally, Superboy Prime actually went and sought out the Batman Who Laughs because he knew that he couldn't handle him in his plan. So he said, "Why fight them when I could just work with them and make sure that my universe actually exists and works?" And she was able to convince him and go against that. So now he ended up helping them out, and they ended up escaping. And they're trying to get some, I don't know. I think they were trying to get some anti-crisis energy to fight against them off. But as this is happening, they're showing some of the other worlds that are getting destroyed because, like I said, there's only a few universes left, and Perpetua is trying to destroy all the other ones. And they're in the more cartoonish one, the Looney Tunes universe. As they're in there, Owlman basically trapped John Stewart, and as he trapped him, he's basically asking him about Perpetua, and he's trying to understand more about the story. So John Stewart explains what happened and what her plan was. He says, "It doesn't take a genius to see what you hears a plan. Perpetua, mother of the multiverse, has sided with the monsters of the dark multiverse to help her reshape all of reality into her own image. There are tuning forks planted in the remaining multiverses worlds that best match her dark ideology. Each of these tuning forks capture the psychic energy of people gathered around Earth Zero, the center of the multiverse. Their agony keeps her power enough to finish the job to destroy universe after universe, to tear down the array of worlds and start again from scratch." From what I understand, there are only 6 Earths left in the multiverse. So yeah, there's only 6 Earths left. She's going to the last 6, which she kept them for a reason. The reason she kept them is because these are the darkest and most, I guess, deprived universes within the positive matter universe, and because of that, they have more crises happening in there. And as they have more crisis, they're creating more crisis energy for her to siphon out. So she wants to absorb as much of the crisis energy with the tuning forks from these, devastated universes within the positive matter universe. So once she absorbs enough, then she'll wipe them out and leave the Earth Zero, which is the center of the multiverse. Because if you destroy that, the entire multiverse is destroyed. She's just trying to destroy all the other universes, then use the Earth Zero as her hub to basically create the new multiverse with all the crisis energy that she's siphoning out from there. And she's gonna destroy each universe one by one until the she tears down the Orion of Worlds. We've talked about the Orion of Worlds before. This is where the monitors would watch in this glass casing. You see these different planets, and it had the 52 universes in there. Now there are people that say, well, there's other multiverses in there and there's more than that. Yes, but when they talk about these other they talk about the universes, they're only talking about the universes from the DC's 52 multiverse, not the other multiverses. So whatever effects they have in that Arai is not going to affect all the other multiverses. It's only going to affect the DC multiverse as a whole. And we know this because later on, when they do mention the depth of this multiverse, they mention other multiverses that have died and that this multiverse is on the verge of dying. And when it does die, it's not going to affect the other ones because the other ones still have their own. It only stated later on that the only multiverse that's going to end up getting destroyed from these events and this whole situation is the DC multiverse itself. So yes, the Orion of Worlds does contain other multiverses, but these situations, all of these times when these events are happening, it's only destroying. It's sorry for the voice crack. It's only destroying that the DC's multiverse, which at that time is the 52 universes. It's not destroying all these other countless multiverses. It has no effect on them. This is the same thing with the whole cosmic armor Superman when he was fighting against Mandrake. Mandrake was threatening the multiverse and siphoning out the energy throughout the bleed space, but he was not destroying or threatening any of the other multiverses. It was only that one specifically. They mentioned the Orion of Worlds, but it was not having any effect on those other ones. So people need to understand that. But then later on, they say and form the source of the raw materials of the multiverse were pulled together by an unseen hand. The source sent Perpetua to take the raw materials and reshape them into a function of the multiverse, and she created her children, the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger to manage the different aspects of her new reality. At a point, Perpetua had fulfilled her duties and was meant to die to allow her energies to return to the source, but she refused. So she was formed from the source itself by this unseen hand. This unseen hand created her from the source. Then she created her children, which we already know about, and to do her job, right? The job was to keep everything in check and to make sure that the positive matter universe, is being made and having all this stuff and then having those other shit. I'm not going to get into it too much, right? But that was the whole point. And the hand only created her for this job itself. After that, she was meant to be destroyed and then her energy sent back into the source, kind of like with the dark multiverse, where the dark multiverses were created to have different possibilities and have their energies used. And when it was basically done with and used up, they were meant to be destroyed and sent back into the forge and absorb it. The only difference is this is happening with the source, and she tried to refuse it and try to fight them, and she was able to hold them off. But then her children betrayed her. They even mentioned how they betrayed her and said those superior responded, sending the tremendous energy needed to bind Perpetua and her power and her immortal army of apex predators. She was sealed into a wall around the edge of the multiverse, a seemingly infinite barrier separating the multiverse from the greater omniverse and the source at its center. So they're saying that they created the source wall, right? The source wall was created to keep her trapped and her army trapped. But not only does it keep her trapped, it keeps the entire multiverse, the DC multiverse, away from the rest of the omniverse because she created the DC multiverse, which is the positive matter multiverse, right? And she was going to use that to conquer and destroy the other multiverses throughout, outside of, the source, right? Outside of the source, there are the other multiverses, and she was going to use it to destroy them and absorb them and take them over and then become the top one. And that was not meant to be her goal. Her goal was only to make a beautiful, multiverse, which she was doing, and then she was going beyond that, because she was not meant to live any longer than that. So she was trying to fight out against that. And they were trying to find her to take her down, but they couldn't. She was able to somehow hide her presence, but her children betrayed her because they even realized, like, this bitch is crazy. She's going too far. So we need to stop her. So they sent out the message out into the void and to the Monitor and all these other higher godly beings and told them, hey, look, she's trying to do some wild shit. She's not giving up. We need your help. So they trapped her in the source wall. Now, this part is very important. Why? Like I stated, before, people have been using the argument that, well, the Orion of Worlds contains all the other multiverses, and if you destroy the Orion of Worlds or affected, that means you affect all these other multiverses, so you affect an entire omniverse, not just the DC multiverse as a whole, right? That is not true. The reason why that's not true is clearly it was stated right here. The whole point of the source wall was created to trap in the DC multiverse from the rest of the other omniverse or the other multiverses. So now it is separate. So whenever you mess with the Orion of Worlds, or any of these events had these big events where they're messing with the Orion of Worlds, they were not messing with the entire all these other multiverses. They were only messing with these specific universes within them. So anybody who tries to say, well, Mandrake was able to destroy the multiverse and absorb it, he was only able to do that to the DC multiverse, which was the 52 universes. His that event had no effect on the other ones because the source wall, the whole point of the source wall is it protects them from all the stuff. And once when he got sent out from outside of the source wall to the void where the monitor is, he got completely obliterated. So when you look at it, both Cosmic Armor Superman and Mandrake, they do not their feet in that situation where it was threatening the multiverse was only going to threaten the DC multiverse, none of the other stuff because the source wall was there. And any other event that was being a threat was only threatening this one. Even in this story, that's going to destroy the multiverse is only going to destroy this multiverse, not the other multiverses, because it is still sealed off. I know the source wall is destroyed, but this is only affecting this one and it's cataloged only for this one, and the other ones are not. So I think that's important because people are going to mention, well, this character was going to wipe out everything in creation. That means not only the DC multiverse, but countless other multiverses and the entire omniverse. That is not true. Throughout all those other entire times, the source wall was there preventing those other multiverses from being affected by what's happening here, or extending out there. So all these situations were only threatening this multiverse. And I think it's important because a lot of people will try to upscale certain characters by stating that, well, the Orion of Worlds contains countless other multiverses. So if you threaten that and there's stories that have, and the multiverse being threatened, that means that all these other ones are threatened, have been threatened. But that isn't true. The only ones that were threatened was that one because the source wall was there to prevent them from reaching out to there. So as this is happening, we see we see the Monitor basically obliterating Batman, Superman getting taken over by Darkseid, and Wonder Woman fighting off Superboy Prime. And she even mentions you shattered reality once with a punch. So if she's bringing that up again, the reference. There's a little bit of back and forth with these stories. I know that some parts it goes a little bit forward ahead in time, and some parts goes a little bit backwards in time. The only reason that happens is because there's many stories in between. There's ones where they go through each issue, and then there's ones that have collective issues, which they're all combined together, and they have different information. So some of them jump back and forth. So sorry if you see the story going forward where like you see the Batman Who Laughs gaining the power and then going back to him not gaining the power and he's trying to gain the power. That's how it just works. That's why comic books are a little confusing. But he ended up gaining the power at this point, and when he does, he goes on to say, he said, "Thank you for making me the most powerful god in the multiverse." So now that he has the power of the Crisis Energy, he apparently has become the most powerful god in the entire multiverse. And since now he has his energy, now he has enough power to fight against Perpetua. So now he's ending up fighting against her. And as this is happening, the rest of the Justice League get pulled up by Lex. As Lex shows up, he starts to tell them that, hey, look, guys, I know a way to try to fight off against him. I know what's happening, and I know I worked with Perpetua, but now I'm against her, and I'm going to help you guys. As he goes on to say, soon the one who laughs will kill Perpetua, and once she's dead, he will finish using our fears to bind our own nightmare multiverse. When he's done, he's killing us all around there, surrounding empty Earth, the core of reality, with his own version. But now though he still has only a handful of baby worlds, we need to act. You'll hear me out. And he says, you're part of Perpetua stuff. Yeah, do we get more crisis energy if anyone thinks it's big? That's enough though. My position is for once not that big thinking. We think small. So what is happening? Lex is telling them, hey, look, the Batman Who Laughs has gotten a ton of power. He's fighting as Perpetua. He's going to eventually kill her. And when he does kill her, he's going to kill the rest of us. And then he's going to go to the core of the Earth Prime, and then restart the multiverse and create it into his image. So we have to basically prevent that from happening. And that's why the rest of the heroes are from Earth Prime are still left alive, and the Earth, because it is a part of the multiverse, is the center of the multiverse. Without this, there is no multiverse, there is no crisis energy, there is no anti-crisis energy. So he needs to keep them alive, and their Earth, because the rest of the multiverse is not necessary. They can die as long as Earth Prime is around. You can create a new multiverse whenever, and you can siphon out crisis energy from it or create crisis energy from it continuously. Once one is destroyed, there's no more crisis energy. So he needs the Earth and the core of it to create this. And he's already created some baby universes to create his dark multiverse. And Lex is saying, "Hey, look, right now he has a ton of power. He has a little bit of a base in our Earth's core and is creating these baby universes for his dark multiverse. But we can beat him if we intercept the core and mess with it a little bit. Because even though he has created some universes, they're still in the baby stage, and if we can intercept that, we can stop that." And as they go on, Wonder Woman says the Batman who laughs is more powerful than Barbados ever was. Luther shreds of the 10th metal won't be enough. No, they will not. The only powerful enough to fight with him is the truth. What are you talking about? Ever since Perpetua was the first locked away, key truths of our universe and our history have been hidden from us throughout time. A special moments, brave men and women have invented machines to seek the truth, to peer into the heart of the reality. However terrifying is their past moments, I've designed one such machine. The Element X shards are from the Forge of Worlds, and they can guide you there so you can make this machine. So his plan is to use the 10th metal, and Wonder Woman says, "Yeah, the 10th metal was strong enough to beat Barbados, but the Batman who laughs is way stronger than him. How is this going to help us out?" And he's like, "Yes, I know that. I'm not going to use this to fight against him. I realized that, the biggest weakness to Perpetua and these powerful entities is basically history and the truth and knowing the past and everything. And throughout history, we made machines to see into the past, and it caused problems. And now I have my own machine to create so we can go back into the past or pierce into the past and reveal the truth." And the Element X is only the only thing about the Element X is going to help you is to lead you to the Forge, which they did this last time. And once when it leads you to the world of Forge, you can create the machine that will unravel the history of their multiverse. As they do this, this will give them more power to help out and uh, eventually beat Perpetua herself. So that's his plan. The Element X is just to get to the world of Forge to create this machine to unravel the histories of and the truth of the multiverse. And once when they're able to unravel it, it will give them more power. And they go on to explain it as Wonder Woman says, "I don't understand the machine. It will help us redirect crisis energy to us so we can fight him. No, we're all the batteries for the crisis energy, and it's opposite. Crisis energy is born from our fears, from our anger, our desires to be big. It events us to change history to make the present more important. But anti-crisis energy is connective. It unites people through memories and history, reminds us of our small but part of one epic story. Build our machine and listen to unknot the timelines and restore everyone's memories. In doing so, you will connect us all to the truth and create a powerful stream of anti-crisis energy you might be able to use to fight him. But I used anti-crisis energy against Perpetua last time, and it didn't work. Crisis energy was more powerful by far." "No, it wasn't. What are you, my god? It was my fault, wasn't it? I remember she taunted me to told me that if I won, even using crisis energy, everything would be brought to bear. All history would matter, time would not, many of us would be dead." So what is happening? There's a lot of stuff. It's a little confusing, it might sound like, but it's pretty simple. So what she's saying is that, "Oh, so you want us?" She's like, "I don't understand. It will help us redirect the crisis energy to us so we can fight him." And he's like, "No, I'm not trying to use crisis energy. I'm actually trying to use the opposite force, anti-crisis energy that you guys mentioned before." Um, and he says that we are batteries to both the energies. When we are afraid or we feel fear or anger or despair, we create these dark universes. We already know this at this point, right? So when they're afraid of something or angry or they're scared of their desires or they have some dark desires, it creates the dark multiverse. As it creates the dark multiverse, it creates crisis energy because they're created from crisis. But when we are connected, and also when you create that, it separates us because we're only thinking about the moment in ourself. And as you're thinking only about that moment in the self, it's creating more crisis energy. But when you think about each other and connected together in this whole world, and we're all have a small part to play in it, it makes us more connected, and this creates anti-crisis energy. So this is how anti-crisis energy is created. It's created by both of them. That's why, like I said, they're needed, and Earth is also needed. Um, so it could specifically um gain crisis energy. So but them around, they create crisis energy and anti-crisis energy. And she was like, well, and he said, by doing this and using the machine, we can, because every time that they would try to change stuff and they would do it, it would create crisis energy and it would create a knot in the timeline. And every time it would create a knot in the timeline, they would forget and it would increase his power. So he wants to create this machine to make them remember everything. As they remember, it unknots the ties in the timeline, basically opening it up fully. And once when it opens it up, it will create more anti-crisis energy, which they can use, and using that anti-crisis energy to fight off the Batman Who Laughs. But Wonder Woman interjects and says, well, I used this against Perpetua and I lost, and I realized that the crisis energy is way more powerful. And then he's like, no, it wasn't. And then she realizes, oh shit, what happened was when I was fighting against her, she started taunting me saying, hey, look, if you beat me and use your crisis energy, it doesn't matter anyway, because you're not going to get what you want, because the hand, these people that I've been fighting against, they're going to show up and they're going to basically destroy the multiverse and restart everything. And then you're going to lose everything anyway. And because of that fear of the hand intervening and rewriting everything anyway, she was afraid that she was afraid of that happening. So this kind of got into her head. And as it got into her head, she kind of held herself back. And that crisis energy, anti-crisis energy, wasn't able to fully be utilized against Perpetua. Perpetua knew this. She knew that the crisis energy was strong enough to fight against her and possibly beat her, and to prevent Wonder Woman from using it to its full. She wanted to put doubt in her mind by saying, hey, look, they're going to come after you and destroy everything. So, you fighting against me and doing this, you're only going to be helping them out. And that fear of that made her hesitate and stop. As they go on to say, I remember she taunted me, told me about energy, the time to bear all history. You saw the truth and it made you scared as it was that day long. Yes, I hesitated and I gave her a chance to regroup, call on to the one who laughs. Diana, look at me. I am the name I saw in the multiverse Planetarium. Everything I built is gone all exposed. But instead of trying to recreate the past, I'm welcoming the future, and it feels less like an ending than a great beginning. So he's explained to her that yes, you got scared because of that. She was able to regroup and gain her power and have the Batman Who Laughs to help her out and give her more crisis energy to beat her. And that's why she lost. And he said, yes, look, I know you're afraid, but we need to realize that in the end of the day, we shouldn't be trying to keep things the way they are or recreate them the way they are. We should be looking forward to the future instead of the past and let things go and move on. Even if it's scary and things will change and, be reset, it is better to go and hopefully forward in the future than keeping your mind back into the past. So that's what he's trying to get to her. And now that she realizes this, she can utilize the crisis energy to its better full potential and not, waste this. Later on, the rest of the heroes go on to say, the Earth is a core of the multiverse. It's destabilized and we won't be able to conduct any more power through it. Whatever few baby worlds he's made, he'll eventually be able to fight with us. So, like I said, the Batman Who Laughs was using the Earth Prime, and the core of it to create his dark multiverse and create these baby universes. But as he was creating this, the Justice League realized that, hey, if we want to prevent him from getting to his full power and creating it fully, we need to stop the mess with the Earth itself and get it out of its alignment. Once when it's out of its alignment, this will stop and halt the creation of crisis energy, and thus it will stop these universes from being created and the dark multiverse as a whole. But it would also prevent us from gaining any energy from anti-crisis energy. So both the crisis energy and anti-crisis energy supply will be cut off, and they're cut off. And even though the heroes don't get any anti-crisis energy from it now, it is kind of a good thing because he can't get crisis energy to create this multiverse as a whole, as this was all happening, right? And as this is happening, as they're doing their plan, the Batman Who Laughs is still fighting as Perpetua, and as they're fighting, it is stated, with his insane, overwhelming power, they state reality quakes in response to the new dark god recently bestowed with his nigh omnipotence. Every living being feels it's from the ends of the universe to the other. Refugees from the shattered multiverse tremble, and each arms they had thought that they retreated to Earth Zero meant that they were safe. Um, then they go on to say that They say that, but soon there's no safe place in all of creation. At the end of the Rip Hunter watches the lights of the hypertime burn out one by one. The possibilities die around him. The end is imminent. There is no time left. And in the sphere of the gods, the last great power shred at the new god's might, they want to believe he can still be stopped, but there remains only one who could rival his power. So now they're looking, and what is happening is his power as he got into this godly form and is got all the crisis energy is having an effect on the universe as a whole, and they're feeling it throughout all of creation. Even Rip Hunter, who his thing is he basically goes through time, and as he goes through time, he goes to fight against any time anomalies and effects throughout time. So he's gone through the hyper time itself and the time stream to basically prevent any bad things happening. So he has a lot of connections to time. And they mentioned that hypertime, each of these lines throughout hypertime are burning out. Each possibility is being destroyed because of him. And there's only being one possibility left, and that's his victory. What does that mean? Well, hypertime itself, time in DC is not as simple as a lot of people think. They think it's just one linear path where there's only one possibility. What the time hypertime is, it contains all the possibilities of time itself that it can go until it meets one final end. So what that means is, let's say there's an event happening, right? There's a big serious event. There is many possible ways that this event could end, right? And there's many different possible ways that this event can end. The hypertime has all these different possibilities that it can go into. Now, as soon as they start going throughout this event and start fighting it and dealing with it, it starts to narrow and narrow and narrow, and more of those possibilities start to disappear until there is one final conclusion, which is the end of that event, right? So what is happening in this event is the hypertime has many different possibilities how this could end with, Perpetual winning, the heroes winning, him winning, the hand coming in, or any other situation happening that can go this way, right? Normally, that's how it would work. But since the Batman Who Laughs has obtained such godly power that all these possibilities are not, they're not possible. They're not thought of at all because he's too powerful, and it seems like 100% that he is just going to win and that there's no possibility that he could lose. So with these possibilities, it just means that, or hypertime, and it means about possibilities, it just means that when you look at time, there isn't just one way. It's like, oh, it's going to go this way. There's many ways it can go, but the more you go throughout that, the more becomes finalized and more these other possibilities disappear, and you realize that this is how it ends. And that's the end of it. So like with what happened with, in Crisis of in Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? There was many ways it could have gone, but the end final conclusion was there was 5 universes left, and they got combined into one, and they defeated the Anti-Monitor, and that was the final conclusion. And in this one, he's so powerful, he's able to force the final conclusion, which is he wins. And this is even affecting into the sphere of gods, and they say that there's nobody can rival him except for one. It might be Perpetua, but I think it's Wonder Woman. Once she gains her, her power of anti-crisis energy, then she will be, able to beat him as a whole. So there's a lot of stuff happening right there. And like I said, when you see time in DC, all that it means in hyper time is that there's many different possibilities when there's a situation happening that it can go. And as soon as they go throughout the, situation and deal with it, more of those possibilities get to eliminated. And once when they finish what happens, that is the final time stream. And in his case, he was forcing that, and it was also affecting the God sphere. So his power was so overwhelming that even the hypertime realized that there is no possibility where he loses. The only possibility is him having a victory. So even hypertime couldn't handle it. And then in the sphere of gods, all the other powerful beings there are like, yeah, we can't do a shit. So we only have one chance and one person who can end up doing something about this. But as this is happening, there's this new being that ends up showing up. There's this rift within the universe that opens up, and as it tears, this alien like being shows up, and he's actually very important, and he gives us some very interesting information about not only the DC multiverse, but the whole cosmology as a whole and all these other multiverses. Because he shows up, he says, the battle rages across every facet of reality, drawing the attention of all these powerful enough to bear witness. If you notice the surge of alien energy that rips through the fabric of space-time, not from the bleed, but from the overvoid, as Earth sits in a greater universe, which itself sits in a greater multiverse, this dying multiverse sits in a even greater omniverse, and it has been watching. So we don't know who this alien is. All we know is that as this fight was happening, this universe was being affected, reality was being affected because all the other universes are destroyed. Earth Prime is the only one. The Prime universe is the only one left, and since they're fighting on Earth Prime, that's affecting the universe as a whole, and it will end up eventually destroying it and everything. So, for as this is happening, there's a breach within space time, and this being comes in here, and they stated that this being's not within the bleed because the bleed is the space where all the other universes within the DC's 52 universes are kept in, right? He's actually come from the Overvoid, which is on the opposite end of the source wall. The source wall basically traps the bleed, and the bleed basically withholds the universes within the DC multiverse. And he's outside of it, meaning that he was most likely sent by the Overvoid, which is the Overmonitor, and most likely even the Presence, who's the god of everything in DC, right? So he said there, and it's stated that the Earth sits in a greater universe, right? There's a big universe, and the universe sits in a greater multiverse, which is the DC multiverse, and that multiverse sits in even greater omniverse because it isn't the only multiverse throughout all of DC. It is just the DC's multiverse. There are other multiverses that haven't been shown or stated what they are specifically. Maybe the Watchmen's universe or Vertigo comics, where we have Michael Morningstar, might be their own other multiverse. I guess you could consider that. So they probably ventured into other ones, but what we know is mainly is DC's one, and there's apparently countless other ones out there. We don't know how many and what they're like. We just know that there are, and this is confirming that. But he's very important because we find out more about who he is as he goes on to say, "Oh dear, this process is much too quick. Two Omega class cosmic entities could collapse the entire system before a survey is complete. I will need to perform my functions quickly." So he's here for obviously some function of a survey and to completely catalog something. And as this was happening, he basically mentions that the fight between both Perpetua and the Batman Who Laughs is technically threatening the universe and is going to end up destroying the system. Usually when you hear system, you hear it's like star system, which is like solar system, but I'm more likely going to assume that it is the universe, and that's what he meant by the system as a whole. As he's pulling up, there is this place that he's showing up to, and there's these robots trying to attack him, and he, with the wave of his hand, he's able to destroy them. He says, this is a waste of your defenses. Your drones are incapable of damaging me. I'm an omniversal functionary protected by the source of all things. Show yourself." So he's saying that, hey, there's no point of attacking me because my prime directive is from the omniverse itself. I'm functional to the omniverse as a whole, and I was sent here by the source, and I'm also protected by it. So there's nothing that can harm me because the source itself is protecting me, and it sends me here to basically catalog stuff from the omniverse. So as we find out that he pulls up actually to Brainiac's son, Brainiac's son realizes that, hey, the multiverse is screwed. Our multiverse is going to end up dying. I know there's other multiverses out there. Some are already dead, some are already dying themselves, but there are countless other ones that are alive and doing well. And I don't want to stay here and die with this multiverse. So I'm going to basically leave. And the way he did this was by sending messages out into the omniverse, just like how, Perpetua's children did. By setting out the, information to the omniverse, he was able to get the attention of it, and they sent this guy to basically catalog the end of this multiverse. And he was trying to make a deal with him, saying, "Hey, I will give you all the information you want or need about this multiverse. Just let me escape to these other multiverses," which he said, "No, you can't do that." He goes on to say, "The Codex Omniversa carries the history of trillions of dead multiverses. Do not wish to know what the majority of them look like as they die. Do you not cherish what you have, viral docs? You think you so highly of yourself that you would cast away all that untapped potential for the dream of finer shores." Basically, he's giving him shit, saying, "Hey, look, you're trying to leave this multiverse instead of just staying here and trying to deal with it and do what you can. Trust me, you don't want to deal with these other multiverses deaths." So he shows him the Codex Omniversa, which is this book where he catalogs all these other multiverses and their deaths. He states that it carries the history of trillions of dead multiverses. So this book, he basically writes in there of all the multiverses that die. Whenever a multiverse ends up dying within the entire omniverse, he is sent out into that multiverse to catalog the entire events and how this multiverse came to be and why it's ending and everything. And he puts it in the book and then he leaves and then it ends up dying. And now he's showing up for the DC multiverse. And since he's trying to leave, he shows him the book that, hey, look, trillions of them died and this is what happened to them. So we know at the very least that there were trillions of or more than trillions of multiverses, not universes, multiverses, but those are our dead ones. So those are probably in the past. Probably the ones right now are not around trillions. We don't know how many there are. But definitely in the with his book that he's able to, catalog a lot of this information, he's able to at least catalog trillions of multiverses deaths. So that means that there's even more than that now. Obviously there's ones that are still consistently right now, and then there's ones in the past that have died, and then, newer ones come in and replace them, right? So after this, he wants to learn more. So he realizes that if he truly wants to know more information about this universe, he needs somebody who has the most knowledge within this universe. So he goes to get Metron. Now, Metron was dead for a few years at this point, so he had to revive him. He brings a skull and he revives him, and he says, "Wake up, Metron." He said, "You were destroyed some time ago. I have reconstructed you. I'm a cosmic functionary of the greater omniverse. Test was recording the last moments of the dying multiverse. Called a chronicler. I concur context from this mess that you have made. The multiverse is dying. How long have I been dead?" So he basically tells him who he is. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just from the omniverse. I'm sent here usually to record dying multiverses. I'm recording yours. I'm just a chronicler. I'm not here to fight. I'm just here to see what happens." And what was happening. So he's getting the information from him. Then he goes on to explain a little bit more of what's happening. He says, "You must understand, Metron. I have fulfilled my function for millennia upon millennia by your relative standards. I have seen many incredible things on many incredible worlds, but that they pale in comparison to the places I've seen being with extraordinary abilities, but never on this scale. Most of the stories I have written in my book are mundane. They are speak of ordinary people succumbing to entropy at the end of a very long decay, but this multiverse is different. These stories are different, and now they will be ripped apart by the nightmares rather than reaching a natural conclusion. You must help me understand." So he's basically explaining to him, "Hey, look, I've gone through this many times. I've seen countless other multiverses being destroyed. Most multiverses do not have superpowered beings, and the ones that do are still not as impressive or as cool as this one. Kind of like what Dr. Manhattan, when he went to the DC multiverse, he realized that there's more cosmic, powered people. Not only is there like superior people, because in the Watchmen universe, they do have superiors and villains, but they don't have superpowers. The only person who has superpowers is Dr. Manhattan. And when he came to the DC multiverse, he realized that not only do they have countless superheroes, but they also have powers. They have, cosmic entities. They have a hierarchy, and they have all this other stuff. So it's far more complex than his own one. His one was pretty simple. So I'm guessing most of the other multiverses are just like our universe, where there's nothing really crazy happening. He's saying there's mundane, ordinary people, and entropy came in, which basically was just the death of the universe. So he's saying that most of the multiverse is not really special. It's just regular ones. So I guess it would be like just multiverses with universes like ours, where there's nothing really crazy happening. It's just regular people, no superpowers, no crazy other, planets and stuff like that. It's just very basic and straightforward. And then eventually they come to their final conclusion and end up dying and getting destroyed. And that's just how they work. And the ones that do have superpowers and superpower people are not overly impressive. The most impressive one is the DC one. So the rest of the multiverses are kind of not that crazy. And it makes sense because Perpetua for a long time was amplifying and making the multiverse crazier and crazier and more insane. So that's why it would be that case. But then Metron goes on to explain how their world works. He says this universe is built on belief. The little mortals believe in gods, and so the gods exist. And the gods believe in the source, and so the source exists. And you are the source, so you are not. You're the source of creativity and creation that fuels all things in the existence. You are above all the several rulings of the cosmic ladder, it being an omniverse, not a being of the multiverse, and it's still the source exists above you. This multiverse creates incredible evil that it might be overcome, and there is always something good enough to counter the ultimate evil to keep it balanced. So it's on Apocalypse and New Genesis, but there are other battles that are now once again to rage on in the day. The balance will be felt perhaps the day and today, but I am confronted by the notion that the source retains a record, and now I'm confronted by that more than that. The one though who comes to record this became a believer in us. That means that our multiverse will never truly die. It will live on in the stories and imagination, such as a cosmic scale makes it all real again. The omniverse is infinite. It is potential limitless is in a form or another. Even if we fully understand it, we will live on. I want to. So he shows him like all of his knowledge. So what is he saying? He's basically stating that the way the DC cosmology works, and I've explained this I think once before, where the humans are basically the most important things. The humans are the reason why they have so much power and so much hierarchy in DC. So with the humans, they create the gods like new gods and the old gods. And as they create these gods worship the source. And these gods, as they worship the source, it makes the source real. So what the humans believing in gods, it makes the gods real, and what the gods believing in the source, which is the higher power, it makes the source real. And when the source is real, it's this all encompassing creativity and creation that fuels existence. So it then pumps into existence and creation and makes it, run and stuff. And as this is happening, he also explains that the fact that, 'cause even though he's a being on a higher scale in the omniverse outside the multiverse, this source still is above him, and then it creates evil beings and good beings, a conflict to keep this balance. And sometimes at some point it might end up, the balance might not be there anymore and ends up completely destroying. But he states that even if it is completely destroyed, the fact that you are able to chronicle this story makes it real and makes it stay alive. And I know that it has affected you to the point that now you want to save it. So it's basically it's pretty interesting. So you have the humans, right? The humans believe in gods. So the gods are only real because the humans believe in them. So then it makes them real. And the source only exists because the gods believe in it, but without the humans, they wouldn't exist. So what the gods believe in, the source exists. And with the source existing, it creates beings like this guy who, you know, who is on a higher scale and watches the omniverse, but he's created from the source that was created from the gods, that was created from the humans. And then the source creates these beings, these evil beings and good beings to create this balance, which adds into the universe itself and creation itself, increasing that and making it stronger. So since the source created you and it adds into creation itself in our universe, in our multiverse, and it helps create us and then the humans, this would also mean that since you are created by the source and that you believe in this multiverse and you write it, means that you still think about this universe. And if you think about it, that means that this multiverse will still exist no matter what. So it exists through belief and understanding, is what he's trying to say. So that was the end of that, the whole Chronicler stuff. That's important because there are trillions of other multiverses that died. He's there to check this multiverse dying. And like I said, this event is only affecting this multiverse. The rest of the multiverses are not affected because they're outside of the source wall, and they're in the void. And in the void, they're their own thing, right? So this has no correlation to it, seeing as how he's cataloged the other depth of those, multiverses, and now he's cataloging this specific one. If it was threatening all the other ones, it would have just he would have just cataloged the omniverse as a whole, or try to, there would have been some preventions for the whole omniverse. Now, as this is happening, Lex Luthor, he basically actually prior to this, Lex Luthor, when he was trying to fight against the Batman and lost, he recruited Lobo, and as he recruited Lobo, he wanted him to get the death metal. Now, we didn't know what the death metal was, but apparently the death metal is explained by Hawkman. He says the metal is all powerful. Whoever wields it can rewrite history, can remake the universe altogether. So that's what the death metal can do. So he sent him to basically bring it to him. After this, as this is happening, we go into the Batman Who Laughs as he's fighting against Perpetua, and the fight rages on. He says, "Your power is nearly gone, but just for fun, I have saved the last survivor for you. This fragments of you recognize them. There are parts of the source wall, the structure that has imprisoned you inside of for eons. No, all I wanted was to evolve your kind to make you stronger. I know what you wanted, but all the gods all fail to understand this. And that other stuff is not important. But what he's stating here is that, well, you're basically because even though she's powerful and even though he's powerful, they draw their energy from a limited source. They draw it from crisis energy. So the more energy they use, the more, that it drains. So as the fight progressed, when it happened, Batman Who Laughs and Perpetua, they were technically on even footing. They were equal in terms of power. But the difference was the Batman Who Laughs had more crisis energy that he siphoned off compared to Perpetua, who had far less, and she was cut off from the source early on. And he's continuously still getting more crisis energy. So as the fight progresses, she's getting weaker, and as she's getting weaker, he's able to fight her and kill her, and he creates the source wall again to trap her and end up killing her. Apparently, so this is kind of like if you guys remember, when the best way I can describe this fight the way it works and the way it's happening is kind of like Piccolo when he fought against 17. And even though 17 and Piccolo were equal in terms of power, 17 was getting the upper hand as the fight was progressing due to the fact that he had infinite energy reserves and Piccolo had a finite one. So this is the same thing like that, except the Batman Who Laughs doesn't have an infinite one. He just has a bigger energy reserves compared to her. But they're pretty much comparable in power, and that's how he's able to beat her. And as he beats her, he shows up and he realigns the Earth to create his dark multiverse. And he says, "And it took you to cherish. I realigned the Earth, finished creating all my planets on all my armies, and here are my favorite soldiers, though the ones I have been saving for you last moments. So say hello to your darkest nightmares before they kill you." So he just beat Perpetua, and now he's back because he was basically having a battle on two fronts. On one hand, he was trying to use the Earth to create his dark multiverse, but it was stopped by the heroes. And then on the other hand, he was fighting against Perpetua, and he was in the middle of the battle, but she wouldn't let him go. So he had to kill her to come after these guys. And now he finally killed her because lost her power. And as he shows up, he puts the Earth back into realignment and is able to finish his job of creating the rest of the multiverse. Now they're fully created, and as they're fully created, he brings the rest of his army from the rest of the 52 evil multiverses to go fight them. And as he does this, Superboy Prime is like, "Screw this, you know what? I'm gonna take you down and I'm gonna beat you." So he flies up and punches the big construct of him, and it shatters and it shows like this glass-like shattering things. I guess is like showing reality being affected. And now the Batman Who Laughs is against Superboy Prime. As they're fighting, he says, I want the darkness in everything and in you, and I want you to want any more, Superboy. I can give it to you. Just stand aside. I prefer not to expand the energy to kill you." And he says, like you ever could. So he smashes him through the wall. So they're fighting each other, but the Batman Who Laughs says, "Hey, I'm not trying to kill you, bro. I'm not trying to waste my energy to kill you. Uh I just want you to join my side because, you have a lot of evil and you have a lot of crisis energy I can get from you. So why don't we work together?" But he's like, "No, screw that. You can't kill me," which I don't know about that. But they're fighting. As they're fighting, Superboy Prime is unleashing his attacks, and he unleashes his most powerful attack as it sets out energy and it hits the nearby planets and it's shattering them. You see the destruction and the wave of it. It basically shattering them. Um, After this, Superboy Prime it technically kind of gets the upper hand against uh the Batman Who Laughs, and he says he could beat him. I don't think he could, but he says he could, and then Crypto shows up to stop him. And some people try to use this as an argument to say Superboy Prime is actually stronger than the Batman Who Laughs, and the only reason he survived was because Crypto stopped him. I don't think that's the case because Batman Who Laughs himself stated he was holding back for one, and then two, uh that wouldn't make any sense. If he was that powerful that he could just easily kill him, then there wouldn't be a need to give the crisis energy all to Wonder Woman or do all this crazy stuff, right? It doesn't make any sense that that was the case. So it is weird. I just think that the writers are giving Superboy Prime just some plot armor and just being like, "Hey, I'm gonna have it where he's able to push back really well." And then the Batman Who Laughs says something interesting. He says, "You can't destroy me any more than I can destroy you. So let me help you." So a lot of people are also using this as an argument, saying that, well, he himself stated that he can't destroy him any more than he can, which personally I don't agree with. I just think that he's, maybe being facetious so he can get him on his side, because he does tell him, "Hey, look, I can bring back your world, and if you help me out and this and that." So I think he's not being real. I think he's just lying to him or trying to manipulate him because that's what he's really well known for is, manipulation. Because it doesn't make sense. If he was that powerful, there wouldn't be a threat. They would just need him and a few other guys to beat the Batman Who Laughs at this point, right? and there wouldn't be any reason for Superboy Prime originally to work with Batman Who Laughs if he was that powerful, if he can handle him in his more powered state. It doesn't make any sense. But we do see him hitting him with a hard power that shatters the illusion that he was trying to bring up for him. And we see the shattering glass. As he does this, this technically ends up killing Superboy. He does die, but then he gets revived into his own worlds. We don't know what happened there, but he does die. But he beats him and shatters him. But the Batman Who Laughs is not fully done with, obviously. So after this, Wonder Woman finally gets her full power. She gets the crisis energy. She was able to create the machine by using her lasso and revealing the truth in the world of the world of well, not the world of void, the Forge of Worlds. Sorry, I was thinking of the world of void, but the Forge of Worlds. As she was able to do this, she gains all the crisis and anti-crisis energy, and now she's able to fight him. She says, Clark is fighting a Superman who rocketed through a lost way through Earth, corrupted by a million suns. She sees the past too. She sees everyone who has fallen to give them this chance. Above all, what she sees is that everything comes down to this next moment, is about to look into the future for hope, but all she sees then is he laughs and all she sees is him. So she's able to see into the past, present, and then she's looking forward into the future to see what's happening. And all she's able to see is Batman Who Laughs, like I mentioned before. It makes sense because the whole hyper time shows you different possibilities, and the only possibility now was him winning. So that's what she sees in the future is his victory. But as this is happening, she's fighting him. She says, to her horror, though she senses he is stronger than her, he is now possible even far worse than she senses that to know this. He taunts her in the voice of death rattling the god looks now. He tells me right that Diana and I have to leave and your friends live. Will we say and waiting for our answer? He shrieks as one of the vanquished Earths. If she shrinks one of the vanquished Earths and gives it to him, smashing into his mouth. So what has been stated here is that it is definitively been stated and confirmed that the Batman Who Laughs is still stronger than Wonder Woman. Even with Wonder Woman having the anti-crisis energy within her, she is weaker than the Batman Who Laughs, but she's still fighting and she's not stopping, and she basically shrinks down one of the destroyed Earths and smashes it into his mouth um, to fight him off. Um, After this, what happens is the Batman Who Laughs comes back and he's still fighting, and he then tackles Wonder Woman. As he tackles her, he actually sends her back in time. He says it hits her so hard that she falls back through time and history itself, fast past round tables, and then the birth of the new kind of human. So he basically, the fight is progressing. She grabs an earth, shrinks it, smashes it in the mouth. He then tackles her, sends her back in time, and he's chasing after her as they go back in time. Um, as they do, they go so far back in time to literally the beginning of the universe and the multiverse, which this was his plan. This was also the same thing that the not dark, the Anti-Monitor was also doing in Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Anti-Monitor was trying to gain enough energy by destroying the positive matter universes, transferring that energy to his antimatter universe, and then having enough power to go back in time to attack or prevent or try to understand the hand and rewrite time. So he basically prevents the multiverse from being created and the universe just leaving the, antimatter universe. The same thing is happening, but what the Batman Who Laughs, who's trying to kill the hand, and by killing the hand, he can prevent them from ever interfering and changing the multiverse. And once when he kills them, then he can create his multiverse, dark multiverse out there. So by doing this, he's able to kill if he kills them, he prevents them from intervening, and then he creates his own world, and he can have whatever he wants. And he even explains it saying Perpetua and her species in the hand are their way, are here to raise the universe because they dare to want more unless I kill them first. They're coming because of villains like you corrupting, using energy like president of the energy she's talking about. Let the universe move on in harmony. Come on, both of you know they're strong in the possibility of killing, but what would the universe look like if we were to win? Without a restart, half of your friends will be dead. Then we die, so the future generation can we live on better. Ah, the children are funny. We look in there beforehand and see that. And so Diana does this. She casts forward to a victory, possible world saved, where the friends are dead, yes, but good has won, and is the Batman who left right hand on undoing this. So basically, what is happening is he's saying, "Hey, I want to kill the hand, which is a part of Perpetua's species, and once when I do that, I can prevent them from changing anything." And she's like, "Well, it's your fault that this all this stuff happens because people like you." And then he says, "Come on, what are you trying to do? You can't beat me. And even if you do, they're just gonna restart everything. Is that what you want? Everything to die and be restarted all over again?" And she's like, "Well, we have to accept that and move on to the future." And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that." So she realizes that as much as she wants to fix everything, she knows that she can't really do that, and she has to accept that the hand is going to eventually end up destroying everything. And once when it does, it's going to recreate it into its own image, and she's just going to have to accept it and move on. And the Batman Who Laughs does not want to accept that. And he's like, "Why are you fighting against me? We could work together and prevent this from happening." And she's like, "No, we have to accept that." So there's a little bit of a clash of ideology and how they want to handle the situation as a whole together. Um, each individually. So we then go on to the next and we see what like the conversation afterwards. They say, "No, not history, not principles, not a fucking thing. All that matters is surviving, winning is all that has ever been and it will always be. Now you have only two choices. You keep fighting me effortlessly and the hand will be stronger than us, both and erase the universe, or surrender and I'll kill the hand and I'll grant you, your friends, and everyone on earth restored in a paradise safe." So he's basically telling her, "Hey, look, you don't got much options. You only got two options. One is the hand is going to grow stronger. At this point, we're stronger than it, and I can kill it. But if you keep on fighting me, it's just going to get stronger, and eventually, it's going to overpower us, and then restart everything, and we lose. Or you let me do my thing, create my own dark multiverse, and then I'll create a separate paradise universe just for you and your friends, so you guys can survive that, right?" And she's like, "Nah, I'm not taking that plan. I'm not doing it." So she's like, "Screw it. I would rather help out the hand than help you out." And she ends up fighting him. As she fights him, it goes on to say, "Fighting for not the moment of the even the next, but for something bigger than yourself. A dream of who are we, who who we next can be. Dream that connects us all across the end of the space time." She punches the demon harder and harder, and every star shaking impact feels his power fading. Feels him growing afraid of her, and it makes her laugh. She hits him so hard he flings forward through time, past around tables and around the birth of humankind. She's basically stating that, "Hey, look, I understand that they're gonna do this, but I don't care. I accept what's gonna happen, and I'm gonna just keep on fighting for the future dream because even though they're gonna reset everything, at least we have hope to fight for a better future, and that's better than what you're giving us." So as she's fighting back, she's actually hitting him harder, and her punches are getting stronger. I'm guessing the reason it's getting stronger is because of the unity between the rest of the humans and her connecting with a timeline because the power is due to her connections with everybody and the time stream and all this stuff. The more there's a connection, the stronger she becomes. And as she becomes stronger, she punches him harder and harder. And as she punches him, they stayed with every star shaking impact. And this punches are now draining him of his power, and he's actually being scared. And she hits him so hard at one point, she sends him flying through the time stream directly, and he gets sent flying. Now, there's some important things about that. One, she was strong enough to send him flying through time, but she was also hitting him. As she was hitting him, she was getting stronger, and this was actually doing damage to him now. And also, they stated that the power that she was generating was having shar. What the fuck? Sorry, sorry. Like I said, my mind is a mess right now. Sorry if messing up my words a lot. Sorry for that. But basically, it was stating that she was hitting him with star shaking power. Now, some of you guys are gonna say, "Well, that's just probably metaphorical. It doesn't mean literally her power only can shake stars because they should be way beyond that, right?" Not really, and I'll show you guys why. Because after this, we do see a little bit more of this, the fight, and this is coming to the conclusion between both Wonder Woman versus, the Batman Who Laughs. As this happens, it says, "To the end of everything, the death of the sun itself, it is all in which all arts and all stories were long ago absorbed. All matter here is in one place." So as she sends him flying, he goes forward into the future. As they were earlier before, they were completely in the past. Now they're going completely to the end of the future. And where they end up is in a timeline where this is the complete end. All the multiverses are dead. All the universes are dead. Not multiverses. All the universes are dead. All the planets are dead. All of creation is dead, and only thing that's left is this final star that's absorbed the rest of the Earths and the material within it, and she's gonna shove him into it to try to kill him. as she's doing this, he's basically talking to her. He's saying, "Better hurry then, because they're here." She feels then the hands within striking distance of Earth, getting ready to undo her and undo all of that. "This is our last chance, Diana. We must still win. We can't create a world from your energy, but I can kill the hands and give everyone an Eden." So he's telling her, "Hey, look, man, they're here. It's too late now. You have to side. This is your last chance. If you do not side with me, they're going to just recreate everything. But if you work with me, I can kill them. I do not have enough energy now to recreate the universe, but I do have enough energy to still kill these guys. And if you work with me, we can do that." But Diana goes against it and she says, "Screw that. I am not doing that." And she fights against that. But as this is happening, we have Lex Luthor fighting against this last son Superman who flew through millions of suns and got amped up. As this was happening, he said he was fighting against Lex. Lex said, "I called it a Sunday best. I have worn it before. It powered up by a captured shrunken black hole named Sun DX6. Nonsense. Such a suitable build would be unstable with real damage, could cause a black hole event. I guess that would never turn into now." And Diana sees it. So he's fighting against the last son, Superman, who went through all these millions of suns. He's too powerful for them, but he's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna beat you. I have the suit that has a mini black hole within it, and then I'm gonna unleash it. And once when I unleash it, it's gonna, destroy you." He said, but he's stating that, well, if you do that, that's going to create, a black hole event and is going to kill you. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't care. As long as I get to kill you, I'm going to do it." So there was a little bit of that happening there. But after this, we go into the final conclusion with the battle between Wonder Woman and the Batman Who Laughs, as it goes on to say, "Everything and everyone will be no more if she doesn't side with the one who laughs." He begins, he's begging her to save them now as the flames consume him, and save her friends, save everyone in the story, past, present, and future. Picture it as she yells, "The picture of the world you could have." And so she does, and she imagines an Earth where she and everyone she cares about together is safe and happy and shielded from the truth. A world where they're young again and where they're new again. A world where she has never happened them endless in time ahead of time. So basically, she's killing him now by shoving him into the star. As he's being shoved into the sun, it's disintegrating him and killing him. He was trying to get her on his side, but she ended up, going against it. But she is thinking about, what's going to happen and the severity of it. But she's coming to terms with it. And the flames end up consuming him. And he was begging her to, work with him. But she's like, "No, screw that. I'm not." And then we see the end of it as he is destroyed, and we see the massive explosion. It says, and she shoves him screaming into the flames. So he was screaming as he was dying into the sun. And that was the end of that story. But it's not fully the end, but that was the end of the Batman Who Laughs. He ended up getting killed by being shoved into this star. But then later on, we have Wonder Woman being in this white place, and apparently she was pulled here by the hand itself or these cosmic beings. As they pulled him in, she says, "Then our multiverse will be restored. Yes, it will be quite different than the one before. First, all histories, all stories will be remembered and set all for once for all. And once we have seen too that perhaps there is no place for the walls of boundaries when it comes to your kind, so we shall remove them. But now that no reality has been constructed this way before, everything will be new to you and us, to greater threats. Yes, but greater possibilities as well. Does this seem a true way of forward to you, Diana?" So this is one of the cosmic beings. It takes the shape of Golden Age Wonder Woman just so she can be more comfortable with it. And then it tells her that, "Look, I will grant you your wish because, we were coming here to destroy everything and restart everything, and we expected you to try to fight against us just like him, but you ended up doing something we didn't expect. You actually ended up, doing the most heroic thing and sacrificing it and allowing us to do our thing, just to prevent him from having his dark multiverse from happening, right?" And she's like, "So you're gonna give me my wish?" And the cosmic being is like, "Yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm not only gonna restore your universes, but I'm gonna restore all of history. I'm gonna make you guys all remember the multiverse. So everything that happened in the past is gonna come through being part of the story again. So you're gonna all remember it and everything. And the boundaries and barriers that were once placed before are broken. So most likely the multiverse now is gonna be completely interconnected, and they can venture off into other multiverses. And on top of it, they got all their history and stories back. Now, a lot of people take this as meaning that everything is canon, which technically it is because this is a start of Infinite Frontier. A lot of people say, well, this means that everything is canon. That means that all the feats that they had prior, like in pre-crisis, is now a part of them. That isn't true though, because their bodies that they have now is different than the ones they had in the past. The ones they had in pre-crisis have changed. So yes, they have gotten the memories and remember everything that happened in the past and those feats. That is true. The problem with that is their physical body is not the same. They have a different body. It's kind of like if you had a body that was powerful, but it got destroyed, and then you got a new body recreated, but it's weaker, but you got the memories from the past. You still have the past memories and the feats you accomplished before, but those feats would only be equated to that stronger body, not this weaker new body. So that's what happens here. So all those feats that we see for pre-crisis Superman would not translate to Infinite Frontier Superman, because Infinite Frontier Superman's physical body is not the same as that one. He does not have the same accomplishments as that one. So he had those accomplishments in the past, but that was a different body as a whole. So yes, it is a part of it, but it's also separate. But after this, and the whole multiverse is fixed, this starts creating new things and new possibilities as we see, the different effects that happens. They saying, as we know now that Diana's sacrifice in the timeline was unknotted and once and for all, and all the memories have returned, the earth was restored, all of us was brought back, and we were before the Batman Who Laughs attack. But what is everything's happening? Well, first, with our past finally said myriad new futures and openings up, and Hypertime heals will likely experience flashes in them and even alternate paths in pretty epic fashion. Also, sensors indicate some of the dead have returned, not just those who fell in battle, but people who've died before recent events, as if the major powers of the old multiverse, the ones that cannot find any trace of it yet. Dark side, that's spooky, but the multiverse itself, that and everything of the dark multiverse is below us. The House of Heroes is the center of the earth, so we are already aware of that existing and beyond that. And now new Earths are growing, and not just the multiverse. The Earth's whole multiverses, a infinite of multiverses, is becoming our own start of an omniverse. So what is happening here now? Basically, they're stating that after that happened, everything got changed. Diana unraveled all the history and everything, and now we got all of our memories. We're gonna get a little flashbacks here and there at certain moments, so we're gonna remember what happened in the past and all that stuff. The time stream is healing up. As this is all healing up and everything is getting fixed, people from the past are getting from other crisis events that had died and been put in limbo are now being brought back, and everybody's brought back except for one person, and that's Darkseid. Darkseid is gone, and we can't find where he is. We know that later on he creates the absolute universe, and he wasn't completely gone. He was just there, right? And then they mentioned what the dark multiverse still exists. It's below them and is just the same as it was before, where it was being created by the Forge and being destroyed. So it's right there in the House of Heroes is the center of Earth. And then they stated that now not just the multiverse, an infinite web of multiverses become our own sort of omniverse. What does that mean? That means that there are more universes being created now, not just the 52 universes. There's other universes, but not only are there other universes being created, but there's other multiverses being created. And with all the multiverses being created, they're all connected to DC. Like I stated before, that the Omniverse has these other multiverses. These other multiverses, though, are not connected to the DC multiverse. They're their own multiverse. They're all their own multiverse, and that makes up the Omniverse, right? But now DC is having their own multiverses. So before they had the positive matter multiverse, then the dark multiverse. But now they're having the 52 positive matter multiverse, and then some new multiverses connected to DC. So this is what they mean by their own omniverses, right? So the other omniverse is just a collection of different multiverses that are completely different. Whereas this omniverse, which would be a second omniverse, is basically a collection of other multiverses that are directly connected to DC. So they are connected, but to DC, whereas the other multiverses outside of the other omniverse are just separate multiverses. They have no real connection to each other. So yeah, they created two separate omniverses. Um, that omniverse encompasses everything, whereas this omniverse only contains all the multiverses that are connected to DC. I know it's a little confusing, it's a little weird, but the simplest way I can say it is the Omniverse is a higher tier of infinity, I guess you can say, and then this is a lower tier of infinity. The Omniverse, the complete Omniverse, houses every multiverse, but this Omniverse that DC has only contains the multiverses within DC's multiverse. So those other multiverses outside of it have no connection to it and are not within it, but the multiverses that are connected within the DC multiverse are basically their own multiverses. So that now the DC multiverse has other multiverses that are only connected to DC, making it its own omniverse, and then the major omniverse has the DC's multiverse and multiverses, and the other separate multiverses that are their own thing. So that's what that all means. Um, and then they go on to explain further about this, about the changes, saying that the things we discovered is disturbing to the Earth. Our Earth is no longer the center of the multiverse. How is this possible? We don't know, but we detected one center, but two sources of this energy. Everything that was meant to keep between us until now and more, the opposite and far there beyond our instruments. Now the suspect might be least one might be an Earth, but something we've never seen before, a kind of alpha world for now we're calling it. So what is happening? Not only is not only is there more new universes being created, but there's also more multiverses being created. Now they have their own specific omniverse that has their own specific multiverses within them that are separate from the other multiverses. So they have that, but now they're no longer the center of the multiverse. They're no longer Earth Prime. There's actually two of them. There is their one, which is Earth Prime, and then there's this one that they're calling the Alpha World, which we did talk about when I talked about how Darkseid created the absolute universe. So that showcases that he's still alive. They didn't know at this time what happened to him. He was actually in the Alpha World. He was trapped there by the Quintessence. They trapped him there. Um, and then he gains more power, and then he tries to create the absolute universe, which he does. So those are two separate centers of the multiverse. We have Earth Prime and the Universe Prime, which is the center of the multiverse as a whole, and then we have the Alpha World, which is basically the absolute universe, which is also technically the center of the multiverse. So if you affect either of these multiverses, it will affect our universes. It will affect the multiverse and the multiverses as a whole. Uh, but we will find out more about it. The Absolute Universe story is now out, and they've been doing more stuff like that and going through that. So there's interesting things there. But as a whole, I don't think I don't think we're gonna get the full information until maybe a little bit later. I know that they mentioned that Darkseid is starting his plan already to attack. He's coming back into the main timeline. He's ready to attack as a whole, altogether. When I first was requested to do this video, I was requested by one of my subscribers saying, "Hey, I want you to go through the Death Metal story event because he heard a lot of people talking about how strong the Batman Who Laughs is and the Darkest Knight, and they keep on saying the Darkest Knight is one of the most powerful beings in all of DC and all of fiction, and he's OP as hell and this and that, and he's impressive, but I want to hear from you because a lot of these comic book channels technically lie and they withhold information or take things out of context to amplify these characters' powers, and they don't show the full context, and you do that. And that's one of the main reasons I did it, was to see how strong he is and what he's capable of. Now, he is kind of powerful. He was threatening the universe. He was threatening, he was able to beat Perpetua and create the Source Wall back there and all this stuff, and even send Wonder Woman flying through through time itself, which would put him at high levels of power, right? A lot of people say, well, this will put him, at hyperversal or outerversal, and he can mess with time and this and that. And yes, it does sound impressive, but the problem with this was the fact that he ended up getting killed by being pushed into a sun. That does not make sense. How are you this powerful? You can do all this stuff, but then end up getting killed by being shoved into a sun. And he didn't even survive it. He got obliterated instantly and was screaming. So a star killed him. Some people might argue saying, well, this star had all the matter in the universe, but not really. Most of that matter would not all be there, right? Because as you go in time, matter gets destroyed and then it will be removed. And by black holes, it will be absorbed and sent away, right? So as that happens, that would mean that the last sun would only be absorbing the last matter at that last moment. It would not be absorbing it from throughout, the beginning of the universe to the end of the universe, only from how long that star was all around. So maybe a few millions of years or maybe a few billions of years at most, right? So the matter that could have been absorbed into that sun could not have been that much. And the end of the day, it's still a sun, and he was killed instantly by it. So at most, I would put him at star level. I know a lot of you guys will say, that's crazy. How are you going to put him at star level with all this other stuff we had statements? The reason why I put him at star level is one, he was killed by a sun. Two, and it was easily too. And then two, when Wonder Woman was hitting him and actually damaging him and sending him backwards, she was hitting him with star shaking power, not star destroying, star shaking power. And that was enough to damage him severely and weaken him. So he's getting hurt by star shaking power and it's devastating him. And then he gets shoved into a sun and killed. Now, if it was just the statement, oh, star shaking power, some of you guys might argue, well, that's just that's just, metaphorical and it's not literal. It doesn't mean that it's only star level, right? Yeah, that's the case. I would agree. But the fact that they actually show him getting shoved into a sun and getting killed kind of goes against that argument. So by itself, it would have been fine. But since they show the sun and then they have that statement, it kind of makes sense. And prior to this, the only damage that he was doing against Perpetua or Wonder Woman was destroying planets. We saw them destroying planets and affecting stars, and that was it. Yes, the universe was going to be destroyed, but then again, they were fighting on Earth Prime and or near Earth Prime. And if you destroy Earth Prime or any shockwaves affect Earth Prime, that affects the universe as a whole and the multiverse. We've talked about this before. So you don't really need to destroy a universe or have universe destroying power or planet, multiverse destroying power. All you need would be either universal level of power or planet level of power. And even if you want to upscale him, at most you can only get him at universe because he was equal to Perpetua's power, right? And Perpetua herself was wiping out these universes only one by one. She was not able to wipe them out just like countless of them instantly. She was wiping them out one by one. She had to do it individually. And the last time we saw her doing it, she was drained by just destroying one universe. It drained her of so much power that she ended up being, weakened from it severely to the point she needed to recover. And the only way she was able to do this was using crisis energy. And same thing with the Batman Who Laughs. He needed continuous crisis energy, which affects the universe as a whole. That's it for this video. There's nothing else I have to say. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for next time.